Welcome to the Confessions of a Group X Instructor podcast. For group exercise junkies and enthusiastic classgoers, we'll explore and uncover authentic, thought-provoking, and heartwarming industry education and inspiration from entertaining, badass fitness pros. And now your host, creator of Warrior Rhythm, Warrior Strength, Warrior Combat, Warrior Revolution, and Warrior Kids Group fitness brands, Ellen DeWord. Here we grow.
Welcome, everybody, to my third episode with Nicole Printon. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, Ellen. Thank you so much for having me. It's always so exciting to talk to your audience.
I know. I just can't stop asking you to come back. I can't even stop. I just keep
thank you.
To come back. Will you do like a mini reintroduction of yourself?
A mini reintroduction? Sure. I'm a group fitness instructor. Obviously, I love teaching Warrior Rhythm. It's like my most absolute favorite thing to teach. Just fell in love with it when I found you on the conference circuit. But anyway, I've been teaching group fitness for many years, and then I kind of fell into the nutrition space just because that's been my passion for a really, really long time. And without getting into the details of it, I was always taking nutrition courses to get like my continuing education credits for group fitness and personal training. So, and because I'm a personal trainer as well, and I was always learning the same thing over and over again in those certification, like those CEUs.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, we're a smart people as humans. We would have figured out weight loss by now if it was calories in, calories out. Yeah. So I started to dig a little bit on the internet, and I found holistic nutrition, and I was like, this is it. This is what I'm missing. So I got educated at NTI school. It's Nutrition Therapy Institute. And so I'm a holistic nutrition therapist, which means I look at the whole person and lifestyle strategies, diet, of course, and I try to help people, my clients, bring their bodies back into balance with, clean lifestyle, holistic strategies.
Yeah. So, and also by way of review for our audience, in case, or maybe not review, if you missed the first two episodes that Nicole did, which were excellent, by the way. Actually, it's 4 because you did a 2-parter. So this is actually
right. So this is my number 4. Correct.
Oh my gosh, you're my most frequent flyer ever.
Wow, what an honor.
Well, it's because I really like you, and I love the way your mind works. And I'm very passionate about this. Like, I'm very passionate about functional nutrition and food as medicine. And, I personally nerd out on all the same kind of data and information that you do. You just understand it a little more on a little deeper level than I do, but we're really of one mind. And so we get excited about the same kind of things. And so today we're going to talk about poop. But before we do, I have to just give a little disclaimer because, okay, ready? I don't really want to say it out loud, but I do live in Oregon, and, anyway, I just got to say it. We have like rats. We have rats, I think, because we've had them before, and my dog is like, I have hunting dogs, so we don't take them hunting, but they're bred for hunting. And anyway, this is the same behavior that my dog had, Lou, the last time there was a rat problem. Also, Nicole, they like to eat. Rats like to get. I have like that little red Mercedes, looks like lipstick.
I didn't know. But that's exciting.
It does look like lipstick. I said it looks like lipstick. Her name is Lipstick. My car's name is Lipstick. She does look like lipstick, but no, she looks exactly like that little red car emoji. You didn't know what kind of, because you haven't been here yet.
I can't wait.
My car is so cute. But anyway, like, rats are drawn to the engine because for warmth, but they particularly like to chew. Anyway, rats will ruin my car. They will ruin it. So we have some people coming over. All that to say that I just wanted our audience to know that probably my dogs are going to start barking like a lot here soon. And it might be a slight disruption. So my apologies in advance if that happens, but we're going to keep it moving because, Nicole and I, this is the time we were able to budget for one another, for you. So, all right, let's dive right in. I want to just say that Nicole helped me poop better. Okay. That's really why I brought her onto the show to talk about poop and what it means and what it says about our health. And I can just tell you that I live a pretty hair on fire lifestyle. And I was experiencing some like IBS or just some like just diarrhea like all the time, like that my stools were no longer normal. And that went on for some time, like years. And I knew because I'd been doing all this, I do all this insane amount of consumption of podcasts about gut health and functional nutrition and functional medicine. I knew that this is not a good sign of my health and that I need to do something about it. And so I sought Nicole's counsel, and she helped me by introducing me to a probiotic that I can't live without. And it not immediately took a few months, I think, because it's spore based, which I'm sure you can talk about the science behind, but it wasn't like I took this probiotic and I was better. I had to just trust and keep taking it. And I think it took like 3 months maybe for it to work. And now I have like normal, healthy poo, regular.
Yay.
Yay. So this is an important conversation. So sorry to dive in and be personal and graphic like that, but this is an important conversation about health, and I'm excited to have it. So what do we need to know about poop and what it says about our health and all those things?
Okay, well, thank you, Ellen. So first of all, I will just say you're welcome to you that you have normal poops now. So that's fantastic. And because you started with a disclaimer, it reminded me, your disclaimer was about your dogs and the rats. It reminded me, disclaimer, this is not medical advice. I do not give medical advice. I do not treat, cure, or prevent disease. I address symptoms and root cause issues through nutrition. So what your poop says about your health is really like, it tells you, and which you kind of knew intuitively, like if something's amiss with your poop, then something is amiss in general with your health. And so it might take some time to figure out what that is. Like, I'm very glad that you were patient with yourself and patient with you trusted the process, basically, that, maybe things were changing on and off or whatever with the probiotic that I had recommended to you. And not, there's no one size fits all. It just worked out well that the first one I recommended worked for you. But I might have recommended something different if your symptoms were different, if you told me something different. So I don't want people to get the impression like, oh, let me reach out, find out exactly what Ellen's taking, and that's going to help me too. Right.
That's right. I actually remember you had just done some research on that specific probiotic. I remember the first time we talked about it, you didn't recommend it. And then you had done some research actually that, I mean, in my layman's terms, that this probiotic actually had a side effect of being somewhat constipating. And you're like, maybe this one is the one you need.
Exactly. Right. Because if you're having the opposite problem, you have too much water going through your digestive system, probably, or water is released.
I just want to also say I had done like a lot of things. Like I had gone to a naturopath. He had me on a regimen of like sauerkraut juice and tomato juice. You know what I'm saying? Like I had tried all kinds of things. I'm a clean eater, like tons of fiber, tons of water. Like this was something else going on, probably related to my anxious lifestyle. And I don't mean anxious like anxiety and depression, but just that my type A, high strung, overachieving, constantly, I think that's what was causing my, stuff. Okay. Back to you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But that's actually important that you make that connection, because stress is a major disruptor of our digestive system. So anyone that's listening could relate to, when you kind of might have butterflies in your stomach, or you're really nervous about a presentation or something that's coming up, you either are not hungry or you have diarrhea because your stomach is like not handling the anxiety. So it's very much connected.
Super relatable for group fitness instructors, I have to say, because when I started teaching as a new instructor, I felt like I was going to have diarrhea, or I probably did have diarrhea, like for 6 months, starting as a new instructor, just because of those new instructor nerves. And then I still get new setting nerves, or, like new format. Like I just added the roots program. It's new. So I'm having like my stomach has those weird butterflies. I don't want to eat nervous poop things. Okay.
Yeah, no, very true.
I just wanted to tie it into our audience. I wanted to tie the topic in, drive it home. Okay.
Yeah, when I'm going to teach something new, not so much like I'm not teaching new formats anymore, but when I learn a new lesson, it's like and I tell my class, because our people think that this is easy for us, right? Like most people would rather die than do public speaking. Like literally in polls and studies, people answer that death would be preferable to speaking in front of a large audience, right? Yeah. So people think that that's easy to get up, and it's not. It's just we're just used to it, and we're gonna barrel through it. But I tell my classes, like when I teach something new, which I do want to teach roots actually, but whenever I teach something like a new class, a new lesson, I tell them, I'm like, and I'll probably mess up, but you won't know it unless I tell you. So yeah, you get the jitters. So anybody can relate to. Just think of that. If people don't believe that stress actually affects digestion, everybody listening has had that experience, that the stress going on in a particular day certainly affected their digestion, and it does actually on a chronic level. If your stress is chronic, your digestion will be a problem chronically. So you have to try to deal with what is causing the stress. So that's really important to just, that's, another approach where it's not, we think it's food, or we think we, need to take this probiotic or whatever, but it's sleep, it's stress, it's food, it's water, it's exercise. And then if you're, like you said, you had tried other things, you had gone to a doctor and everything like that. So it's not just one size fits all, and it's not ever just one answer. It's like other things. So prioritizing sleep and mitigating stress are big deals. Also, I should add, like, something that's common, people mistake for something that's common being normal. Like just because you noticed that having diarrhea, just because it was common for you, that's like not normal. So if you're not sure if your poop is normal, first of all, any sort of a recent change would indicate that there's an issue. But more importantly, it's something called the Bristol stool chart. I don't know if your listeners would have heard of it, but you should look it up. The Bristol stool chart is 7 characteristics. It's a breakdown of 7 characteristics of what our poop should look like. And it's actually pretty funny, where you could buy a mug with the Bristol stool chart. You could get a shower curtain with the Bristol stool chart. Like, hilarious. And I only found that out from teaching my clients about it. I didn't actually know, even what I do. I didn't actually know that was a thing. That's like hilarious and gross. But anyway, if you want to know if your poop is normal, on the Bristol stool chart, your poop should be a 3 or a 4. And you should, on a daily basis, you should poop at least once. And you should feel the urge to go, but it should be a resistible urge. Like you shouldn't have to run. And then once you get to the bathroom, it shouldn't be straining or uncomfortable. When you're done, you should feel a sense of relief. So it should be a positive experience in general. And so if it's not, it's okay for once in a while, or you had something that made you, you ate something that didn't set right with you, that happens. But if you're chronically not normal, 3 or 4 on the Bristol stool chart, then you should address it. And I would, of course, recommend addressing it in natural ways, which we'll get into that.
Okay. Yeah, I was actually just going to ask what I think I've seen that chart before. Maybe not. Maybe I've just seen images of like, but is it like skinny thin? Like is it actually visual? Like it's like a little animal,
Yes.
like a character drawing or something.
It's completely very visual so that you know whether
You
which
are.
you are,
We have
where
three or
you are.
four all the time.
Yeah,
Okay.
you want 3 or 4. There's going to be times in your life that you're not going to be 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Could be times of illness,
Yeah.
travel, maybe your diet. If your diet is off track for a couple days, something's going to be
Yeah.
wrong. I don't want to
So
say wrong, but not normal for a
when
couple
I
days,
was
possibly.
when I was having trouble and I reached out to you for help, I think I was going to the bathroom like 7 times a day, like 5 or 7. It was just like, and now it's everything you just described. I get up, I have after I eat, after I have my shake and my coffee, I have to go to the bathroom, and it's normal and it's resistible and it's satisfying. And that's it, daily. Boom.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Totally the way that it should be. And I expected, although I don't think you and I got into details, that when you were suffering with the chronic diarrhea, that it would have been, probably more than 3 times a day. So what that actually means, like in your body, is your food is not getting, your nutrients are not getting absorbed. The food is passing way too quickly through your entire digestive tract. So there's that saying where you are what you eat, but you actually are what you absorb. So if your food is not, if you're not absorbing your nutrients, how can you feel good, right? So it's not just like you're running to the bathroom and going to the bathroom too many times, but and then suspecting that something must be wrong, something's not right. You're just, anything you eat that's supposed to be giving you nutrients that we talk about all the time with, vegetables and fiber and, good healthy protein and all of the healthy fat, it's just going right through you, literally. So literally it's going right through you. And, if you poop 3 times a day and that poop is a 3 or 4 on the Bristol stool chart, you're good.
Okay.
So not to think that it's fine. On the flip side, I mean, more people I think are actually, I guess more people that I know are on the other side of the problem, which would be constipation. Okay. And that, I think typically most people I know have that issue because of the clients that I work with. Once you are entering menopause, the decrease in estrogen causes water to more slowly be released from your cells. Okay. And when water is slowly released from your cells instead of the pace at which would be normal, then your food sits too long in the bowels and we become constipated.
Oh,
so
I know that was related to the decrease in estrogen. I've never heard that. That's interesting. It makes sense because the loss of estrogen dries out tissue.
Exactly.
So it makes sense.
Exactly. It all makes sense. That's why our eyes become dry and our other areas become dry when we lose estrogen. And so that's affected, of course, that means it's affected at the cellular level. And when we're not, our body is not pulling the appropriate amount of water from the cells, then we're going to suffer in going to the bathroom. And what that means actually for it, obviously you're not properly absorbing your nutrients there either. The food has sat too long and can then ferment, which could lead to gas, bloating. If your food's fermenting in your stomach, you're going to feel like you have heartburn. People think it's too much acid. It's not too much acid. It's actually not enough acid. And for menopausal women, or actually really anybody who's constipated, but the way we get rid of excess used up hormones is through our feces. It's the only way. So it's not just women, it's anyone. We all circulate hormones. And when hormones get used up, they're supposed to be excreted, especially the sex hormones. So if you have old used up estrogens in your bloodstream, which we will until we poop them out, that's going to cause a lot of hormonal imbalances, which is why menopausal women are also more likely to have a lot of hormonal imbalances because they're likely to be constipated. And then they are recirculating the old estrogens that were used already. And I don't mean used like years ago. I just mean we're still producing some estrogen in our bodies. And so if you're constipated, it's not coming out. The only way to get rid of those is to poop. And so then you could see where there would be a connection to potential cancers that are estrogenically driven. If you're not getting rid of that estrogen, you're constipated.
Like uterine cancer or like
breast cancer is estrogenically driven. Uterine, I guess. I don't know all the estrogenically driven cancers, but if that's, if that's you in your family, you can also get functional testing done to see how you're getting rid of your estrogens, how your estrogens are cycling through your body. You might have heard of it. It's the Dutch test. It's the dried urine. There's other ways to get it, but anyway, you could see.
Oh wait, yes, I have. Wait. No, maybe I'm thinking about something with, no, I think I'm thinking about a test for magnesium.
There's also a test for magnesium within the Dutch as well. You can request that to get as an add-on. But there's a lot of different testing you could do to determine how you're doing with your estrogens, which, I mean, it's not a cause for concern, in my opinion, if you're healthy. But if you have breast cancer or an estrogenically driven cancer in your family and you are chronically constipated, I would look into getting a test to see how your estrogens are being eliminated.
Okay.
You can do that.
So I know you don't have a lot of time today. So maybe give us some what's some advice? So if we listen and we're like, I don't have a 3 or 4 on the Bristol stool chart, or, I'm constipated or I have diarrhea all the time, like, do you have some tips for us? Or do you want to tell us any more about why our poop matters?
Yeah. So I have great natural tips for you. First of all, at the time of the release of this podcast, you will be able to go to my website and get a natural constipation relief download. But
really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm, yeah. So what can remedy your constipation? So different foods, obviously you want to have a lot of fiber. I know people, we talk about fiber a lot and people want to know, like, well, what's so special about it? So fiber feeds your gut bacteria. There's 2 different kinds of fiber you've probably heard of, is insoluble and yep, exactly. Soluble and insoluble. Both are important. You can only find fiber in plants, exclusively found in plants. And fiber will sweep your GI tract. Now, soluble fiber also has the benefit of kind of swelling and becoming a gel-like substance when you consume it. So it will help kind of keep you full. It creates a nice amount of volume in your stomach, which is good for your poop, and it'll kind of get things going and get things moving. So I'll just go real quick. Also, like prebiotic foods, you want to do that. So there's probiotics, but there's also prebiotics, and prebiotics feed the bacteria in your GI tract.
The good
bugs. Yes. And if we have more good bugs, then we're going to have good and bad always.
Yeah.
But if we make sure we're feeding our good ones, then they're going to overrun the bad, right? They're going to reproduce. When they're well fed, they reproduce and they'll take up more space than the bad ones. What helps the bad ones reproduce are going to be kind of obvious, like
sugar,
alcohol, sugar, processed foods, fake foods. What's the word that I'm looking for when something's thickens something, an emulsifier, those sorts of things. Anything that's like made in a lab that your body doesn't recognize as real food. So anything that you would read on a label that you don't really recognize as food, you're like, I've seen this on the label before, but I don't know. If you couldn't find it in your grandma's kitchen, it's probably harmful to your GI tract, most likely.
So good. That's such a great way to say it. So
Yeah, that's really easy, right? It's like if your grandma couldn't buy it in the store.
that's what I want. Like that it happened at some point in my life, like a switch got flipped where I can't look at like a ingredient on a label on a package. I mean, I don't even want to be eating food in a package for one. But if I'm looking at something, I now am like, oh, cancer, oh, inflammation, oh, Alzheimer's, like death. Like, I mean, not to be dramatic, but when I see something like that, now I make a direct connect to like, I don't want to poison myself. Whereas when I was young, and ignorant about nutrition and food, I didn't make a connection. It just seemed like it went into my mouth, into my stomach, and out of my body. And it, tasted good or whatever. I just somehow, I know this is true of so many people. There's just still this disconnect. Like there, for a long time, there was a disconnect. Like if I put something on my skin, I didn't think that was like systemically going to go. I didn't realize like my skin is a filter and it's an organ and I'm putting it into my body. I didn't think like that. I just was so ignorant, for lack of a better word. And so I love that we're revisiting this topic again.
Yeah. And I think that the population, I think more so people are waking up to it. There was just a big talk in front of our Senate where the food babe and a whole bunch of holistic nutrition people talk to our senators about what's allowed in our food versus what's not allowed in these foods in Europe. So the companies have to comply with the European orders, but they can make it cheaper here. And that's why we suffer more. So what can you do is don't buy those things.
Yes.
Hopefully they clean their act up. But even so, like you mentioned, even when they do clean their act up, these processed food companies, and they will, you still want to eat as little as possible from a box or a bag because it's not in its natural form. And so it's not going to have fiber. They can add all the fiber they want. You'll see all kinds of products that are added fiber so that we are drawn into buying them. But the way the body is supposed to consume fiber is from a plant. That's why there's plants when you look out your window. Right. That's what we're supposed to be. We're not supposed to be looking out our window. We're supposed to be foraging outside. There's not supposed to be a window, right? Yeah. So that's my biggest tip is to eat like real foods, especially if you're constipated. You want to focus on high fiber foods. Asparagus offers like a really great special prebiotic to help feed your gut. So I'm going to say like all vegetables are important, but when I say like prebiotic foods, the specific prebiotics, asparagus has prebiotics in it, garlic, onion, leeks, berries, artichokes, flax seeds, green tip bananas have more resistant starch to feed your gut bacteria than ripe bananas. So they're better for you if they're less ripe.
I knew that, but I thought it had to do, I didn't realize it was related to fiber. I just thought that the longer the banana sits and gets its freckles on it and stuff, that it has a higher sugar content. Is that
That's also true. So those two things are probably related. Like it's probably goes hand in hand. Like as it's ripening, there's a greater sugar content, and the fiber and the good stuff that's in it is decreasing because the bad bacteria in your gut it's the lover of sugar. So also, in case you didn't know, maybe your audience didn't know this, but potatoes, when they're cooked and then allowed to cool, they provide the gut with a special resistant starch. Short chain fatty acids is what it's called, and that feeds your beneficial gut bacteria.
Oh, okay.
So potatoes and rice. So two starches that people tend to want to. Exactly. I'm a huge potato fan.
Like it's a whole food. Rice, potato. Yeah. If for carbohydrates, it doesn't get any better, I mean, vegetables like.
Yeah. So I rank personally, I rank potatoes higher than rice, just because there's more beneficial nutrients in a potato.
Even in the skin. And I mean,
Mhm.
you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard at Idea like many years ago, that it's a myth that like people think white potatoes because they think like, I think because they're like thinking like white bread, like that a sweet potato is better for us, and they're just different but equally beneficial. White potato, sweet potato, right?
Kind of. I'll just give a little bit, just a little caveat to that,
No,
that
please.
there's more nutrition in something that's more colorful.
Colorful, yeah.
So a white potato is very good for you. There's plenty of excellent nutrients in there, and that we need. But if you're going to compare a sweet potato or a white potato, a sweet potato, because of its color, offers you more nutrients.
Okay.
However, a caveat to this potato discussion is everything has a caveat. That's why everybody is very unique. Is that if you're trying to lose weight, I would recommend monitoring your potato intake because of blood sugar regulation. If you're trying to lose weight, you're going to have to cut back on anything that increases your blood sugar quickly. Although that's a topic for another day.
Okay.
Just be aware that
like carrots and
yeah,
like that are high glycemic.
yes, higher glycemic. So in other words, if you are trying to lose weight, not that sweet potatoes and potatoes are bad for you, you just don't want to have them at every meal. Like just limit servings to like one per day. So back to pooping now. We could easily go very off the rails.
Before we go back to pooping, have you finished talking about fiber types? Because I had a question.
Oh, I'm sure. Go ahead. What was your question?
Well, okay. So there's soluble. Those are the ones that like swell up, make that okay. And then the insoluble ones, you quickly use the verb sweep.
Yes.
Are the insoluble fibers the type that also almost like helps scrape the like colon lining, like which helps also prevent colon cancer?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So insoluble, I wrote down some food sources.
Okay.
Avocados. Now, you should know that just like our food, like vegetables, fruits, proteins, like our steaks and chicken and eggs, all foods have a combination of stuff in it. So if I say avocados is a good source of insoluble fiber, it also has soluble fiber. It also has fat. It also has carbohydrate. Like it's, our stuff comes in a variety of things. It's just that things like we could talk about personalities, like you might be more of a type A, but you have other things in your personality too that's not quite type A, right? So our food comes the same way.
Okay.
If we think of steak as protein, but steak also has omega-3 fatty acids and B vitamins. And, so it's not just packaged as one thing. Right. So just so you know, avocados can give you way more than just the insoluble fiber. And obviously we probably know that it's a healthy fat. Seeds are a good form of insoluble fiber. Fruit and vegetable skins, dark leafy greens. So back to like weight loss for just a moment. If you were trying to lose weight and you didn't know what vegetables to eat because sweet potatoes, carrots are high glycemic, peas are pretty high glycemic too, corn as well, then dark leafy greens is what you want to mainly fill your plate with. Don't ever forget protein though. Like spinach, kale, arugula, cauliflower, I love, is high in insoluble fiber. Potatoes, green beans, chia seeds.
Okay.
So what else besides fiber can you do? And we talked about stress right at the beginning. Right. You have to deal with your stress. If in no matter what your health issue is, you have to mitigate your stress somehow. Do yoga, meditate, go outside, walk in nature. That's a great way to decrease your stress because just being outside is a great stress reducer. Hydrate. What's that?
Get a dog.
Get a dog, get a pet. Pet owners live longer than non-pet owners. Pet owners live longer than non-pet owners. Pet owners have better weight management than non-pet owners. Maybe it's because, I don't know, maybe because they have to go outside. I don't really know. There's probably all different kind of like confounding variables there. Hydration. So even if, maybe especially if you have loose stools, either way, if you are constipated or you have loose stools, you need to be hydrated. If you have loose stools, you're losing too much water, right? If you're constipated, you don't have enough water in your cells, and that's one of the reasons. And adding electrolytes is actually an important factor here, especially you group fitness instructors who move a lot and maybe move too much. You can be moving too much, right? If you're not well hydrated. And what those electrolytes do in your cells is to help maintain a good, healthy fluid balance, which is what we were talking about with digestion, is how much water is being pulled from your cells. So if you're like, I'm already drinking a lot of water, I can't really drink any more water, I'll be floating around and I go to the bathroom too much as it is. So add a little bit of sea salt, Himalayan salt, or get yourself a good electrolyte to add to your water. Don't use table salt. That stuff is trash. It's iodinized or whatever. Iodine is not something that you need to be adding to your salt.
Pink Himalayan salt. Yeah.
Good. Awesome.
I've heard it's the most free of like microplastics.
That's probably true. I don't know. I just know like the Himalayan sea salt, Celtic salt, all those are what we should be using in our food. And if you wanted to add some electrolytes to your water, you can use just a little dash and that can help you. Actually, I'm a big headache sufferer. And I've read that about, to get rid of a headache or even prevent headaches, to make sure that you have electrolytes, So also be aware that medications could cause constipation. Ooh, yeah. A lot of them, like antidepressants, pain medications, antacids. So I was talking earlier about how quickly your food's going through your digestive tract. Antacids are going to slow that down because you're getting rid of the acid that's in your stomach.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm sure maybe someone in your audience knows people that are on antacids and they don't know how to get off. You need to find a nutrition therapist. I can get people safely off of their antacid. Of course, it's not for me to say you need to be off your antacid, but your doctor will happily partner with you to decrease your dose over time. And I can help people safely do that. That is something that I do. Be aware that if you're taking iron might cause constipation. There's some, you might want to just look for a brand that says that they don't. If you cook a lot with cast iron pans, just be aware that's another way you're going to absorb iron, which is a good thing. But absorbing more iron is going to cause constipation as well. So was there any more medications? Antihistamines. So again, we're drying things out.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Right? Dry anything that dries you out and anything that slows you down. So like codeine, Oxycontin, like anything that's like a painkiller, right?
Muscle relaxers probably.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Anything that slows down the system. Anti-seizure medications, anti-nausea medications, anything like some blood pressure medications, because that dysregulates your fluid balance in your body.
Okay. Wait,
does the blood pressure meds work on your fluid balance? What did you want me to say? Toots.
She's like up on the ceiling. Sorry,
she wants to get as far away from my voice as possible.
Sorry, podcast people. Sorry, I was just by my cat climbing the wall, literally.
So I think like that hit it, like stress management, hydration, make sure you're moving. Walking after a meal, especially if you're constipated, walking after a meal is so good for you.
It feels good too. I rarely ever do it. But then when I do, I'm like, why don't I do this all the time?
It
Like it just
does. It
feels like
feels good.
it just feels good. There's something I do. I have a tip for the audience. Uh, I
Great.
I travel a lot, and I tend to, even though I'm in this like great, normal, regular pooping habit now, and um, until I travel, it does like mess me up. So I tend to want to get constipated when I travel. And so what I do now is I roast a pan of vegetables the night before I travel or the day before I travel. And like whatever, broccoli, cauliflower, I love to do green beans, whatever, mushrooms, just roast vegetables. And then I put them in, I make a huge Ziploc of them. And I put it in the freezer overnight and I take it out in the morning on the way to the airport. And that's what I snack on in the airplane is my bag of
Beautiful.
vegetables. And I'm telling you what, it no more travel constipation because it's really just like if constipation starts, that's when it kind of snowballs. Like if I travel somewhere and I can't poop in the first 24 hours, I could get really constipated on that whole trip because it like sets it just then it's what am I trying to say? Like it becomes a
A
problem.
vicious cycle.
Yeah, it's
It
a
becomes
vicious
a
cycle.
problem.
Thank you, a vicious cycle. But if I can just get a good poop within 24 hours of travel, I'm fine. I'm normal while I'm traveling. So that has been the trick for me. And I'm so proud of myself because I've always struggled with travel constipation, even back in the Beachbody days when I would travel to LA and film. And the last thing you want to do is be on a fitness video and feel constipated. So I used to travel with like a little like stool softeners, and
Mhm.
a lot of the girls that would come and film, they introduced me to, and there's probably nothing wrong with it, but it was like not a diuretic, what do you call laxative? It was called not a laxative either, but it was smooth move. It's a tea. I don't know, but so anyway.
That's what I was going to actually
Oh,
recommend
you were gonna recommend? Okay, you would
in desperation, in
recommend
like
like
if
but it's not as good as a bag of roasted vegetables.
not at all, not
I'm
at
really
all as good.
proud that I went from back, whenever that was, 8 years ago, 8 years ago, 6 years ago, whenever that was, I was, doing, stool softeners and smooth move tea. And now I'm just doing roasted vegetables and it's, uh, every bit as effective, more effective,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, I mean, definitely always food is better, movement, hydration, all the natural things. And smooth move is actually very natural. It's
Okay.
just that, and it's fine. It's just you don't want to become dependent on it. So the
Yes.
only time I ever recommend it for somebody is for travel. Like
Mhm.
if you're going to be traveling because flying is so dehydrating.
It
Anything that's
is
dehydrating,
sitting. Also, we're sitting, so it's like all those things, and we
all
might
the
get
things.
hungry. It's like harder to think about maybe planning your nutrition. So we're like, sometimes I'll make like I didn't plan it well, or I miss a flight, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to eat on the airplane. Blech. Like,
That's
oh,
the
like the
worst.
worst food in the world. Don't ever eat an airplane's food. Uh-uh.
No, so
Can't.
bad. But I love that vegetable tip. That's
Uh-huh.
fantastic. Now, let me ask you, because we touched upon chemicals quickly on the skin. So just let me ask you, do you wait for them to cool before you put them in your Ziploc?
I do, but not because I knew to do that. Like, not because I'm aware of any benefit or reason to do that. I think I just do it because I don't know. I don't know why I do
Yeah.
it.
Okay. So it's anything
Cool.
hot,
Well, not
hot.
not cool, but cool off.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
cool warm.
Yes. Allow them to become to hopefully room temperature if they're going into a Ziploc because it's plastic.
Oh, of course, because of microplastics and I just listened to this crazy Huberman last night about microplastics. They're
Yeah, if you listen to too much, even including me, you'll end up like living in a bubble and not going out
So
anywhere,
he was
which
cool. He was pretty cool about not trying to be an alarmist, but he did talk about how there's microplastics in
was it just him or did he have a guest? I'll have
it
to
was just
listen.
him, and it was like his most recent episode, and he did talk about salt as being, he talked about, oh my god, there's everywhere. it's like in
What,
our
the plastics everywhere? Yeah.
Yes. And so, you know, he did a good job of like not being like an alarmist that makes you want to live in a hermetically sealed bubble. Um, but he did offer some like suggestions to how you could detoxify your body to some extent and how you could avoid. But boy, I mean, Nicole, you're the one who told me, I think it was on one of our shows that we did together, but you're the one who like was like bottled water that's been sitting in the back of your car was heat warm on the truck on the way to Costco or whatever, like. And so now I like don't drink water out of plastic bottles. I mean, I already wasn't, but I mean, I already was trying to drink my water out of my stainless steel or my glass jars and stuff. But anyway, I don't mean to end the podcast on a note about microplastics, but
Well, that was my fault. What did I say? What was I
I
talking
don't know.
about? Oh, the Ziploc, because you're
The
roasting
Ziploc,
vegetables.
you're right. So that's why. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah.
But I love that tip. That's
I
a
just
great
need to
tip.
put it in I just need to put it in my glass. I just need to
Well, or just
put it
wait
in
for
a
it to
glass.
cool off. Just wait for it to cool off. It'll be
Okay.
okay. We
Okay.
can't control everything. I mean, we'll end up being crazy.
We will. That's
Yeah.
true.
All right. So are you ready for my
Oh,
confession?
yes. Confess to us.
Okay. This is kind of funny and very much TMI and all about poop. So you may remember last year, yeah, I was supposed to go to Nashville
Mhm.
for the conference and I had to cancel. What happened was I was in the Dominican the week before and they're giving out water bottles, water bottles, water bottles. You know, I drink water bottles when I have to. It's more important to have water than
Be hydrated. Yeah.
right, exactly. So anyway, I drank one water bottle and I didn't hear that open click thing happen. And I just thought, all right, maybe I'm paranoid. Okay. And I mentioned it to the people I was with, my husband, and we were traveling with another couple. Fine. And then we come home and things were not right. I have a stomach of steel. Things were going downhill quickly. And it started at a wedding. I got back on a Thursday and we had a wedding on a Sunday. And it's just a year right now. It's just a year since Nashville now.
Yeah.
And I was like sick. I was running to the bathroom all the time. I messaged the whole group. Did you have any issues too? And they were like, no. And by then now I realized like I can't go to Nashville. There's no way I can get on a plane like this. I'm a mess. So I decided I had to cancel. Well, my friend that we traveled with was in one of these like a timeshare group at the Dominican, and people posted, commented, saw them filling water bottles with tap water and then refrigerating it. Someone saw it or people saw it. And my friend texted me, it was like, you called it. That bottle of water that you drank probably is why you got sick. Yeah. And doing what I do, like just in my profession, I happen to have like all kinds of eradicating agents at my disposal. So I texted my colleagues and I was like, what do I do? I'm like, I have a parasitic infection. That is absolutely what I had, a parasitic infection.
Yes.
And so they were like, take whatever eradicating agents you have in your house. And once I started doing that, I started feeling better. It took a while. It took a good 2 weeks at least to feel better, where I couldn't comfortably eat. I couldn't comfortably leave the house.
Yeah.
It was a mess.
Dude, I have gotten Mexico sick, I call it, multiple times. And not the last time I went, but the time before. So when I went on a Fit Bodies trip to Cancun and Diva came, that trip, I got some kind of parasite. And it wasn't like Montezuma's Revenge. It wasn't coming out of both ends. It actually wasn't coming out either end. My stomach wasn't right, dude, for like months. And I mean, for like months, I just didn't want to eat food. I can't believe we didn't talk about this. But anyway, my class would, like my front row divas, and I was like losing weight, like I didn't want to be. I just was like losing weight because I was like, I can't eat. Anyway, for months, I was like, they would comment about my weight loss, and I'd be like, or they'd offer, I don't know if probably see in my stories, one of my front row divas always makes Shakeology balls and brings them after class. I like wouldn't even want to eat. I'd be like, oh, my parasite. I can't. And I called it my parasite. I was like, oh, my parasite. And they'd be like, you look so skinny. I'm like, my parasite. But it's gone now. It worked its way out. But man, yeah, there's the water. There's like, it's E. coli, right? In the water.
Yeah, I mean, what your audience might not know is we always have E. coli in us. E. coli is actually a bacteria. It's not a parasite.
Right.
But we have E. coli in us. So what happens is, remember before I talked about bad bacteria becoming imbalanced. So if you have an overgrowth of E. coli or any bad bacteria, then you're going to have typically you'll have some sort of symptoms of that overgrowth.
So I know,
Yeah.
I know you have to go, but like, what eradicating agents, like what do you have in your little arsenal of?
There's like different things that eradicate. There's different kinds of supplements that they'll eradicate bacteria, or they specifically eradicate parasites. Obviously, nothing eradicates a virus. I mean, if we could have a virus eradicator, then that would be great.
Yeah.
But we don't. So a virus is just going to pass over time. But if you don't have, you don't have a virus. Like, I felt fine otherwise.
Yeah.
And a virus passes way sooner than that anyway.
Yeah.
And a virus gets passed to other people in your home. I felt perfectly fine.
Right.
But I wish I could have gone to Nashville, but I couldn't have gone to Nashville.
Well, you're going this year.
I'm going this year. So what's your confession?
Oh, wait, I don't know. I don't have to confess. I'm the host. You're the guest. But I did already tell people that I had chronic diarrhea like 7 times
a day.
Rats. And then I have rats. And then I have rats. Okay. I've done my part.
Okay. You're good.
I don't know that our audience is ever even going to see me the same way again. I'm just kidding. Well, thank you for episode 4 together. So
thank you so much.
Yes. And if those of you listening haven't heard the other episodes with Nicole, go back and look. Let's see. There was the first one we did. I don't remember what it was.
That was Enjoy the Journey.
Oh, yes.
And it was episode 13, because it's an easy number to remember. Bad luck 13.
Right. Yes.
It was episode 13.
Yes. And then we did a 2-parter that was about like cognition, sleep. Well, cognition, sleep.
It was cognition, and we did nutrition. Like cognition and food, and then cognition, exercise, and sleep, I think. Something like that.
Yes. Wait,
something like that.
No. I think it was.
Do I have it mixed up?
I feel like maybe it was sleep on cognition, part 1, and then sleep.
I think they were both cognition.
They're both okay. Well, whatever. They were good. Okay.
Clearly, there's something wrong with our brains, so it didn't work.
The irony. We're like, they were on cognition. What were they? Okay, but anyway, they were really good. Apparently, we need to go back and listen.
I'm actually looking. Exercise and cognition. Let me see. We've got exercise and exercise and nutrition, cognition, part 2, and circadian rhythm and sleep. Cognition, part 1.
That's right. What does sleep have to do with your cognition? What does exercise and fitness and nutrition have to do with your cognition? Yes.
There we go.
All right. Well, say goodbye to tutors. Say goodbye.
Bye, tutors. Bye, sweetie. Thanks for putting up with us.
I used to try to lock her out while I would podcast, but then she just like on the door.
Then it's like too distracting.
Now I let her in, and now she's distracting in the room. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. So for listening, and Nicole, where can they find you?
www.nicoleprinton.com. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook, Nicole Printon, as well. I have a Facebook group that is always all advice about nutrition and wellness. And if you go to my website, nicoleprinton.com, you can download a natural remedies recipe for constipation.
Great. And that Facebook group, everybody, is awesome. I'm in it. I love it. It's valuable. It's engaged. It's great. So, all right. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Nicole.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining in on the Confessions of a Group X Instructor podcast. If you're interested in becoming a warrior instructor, go to warriorinstructors.com. But if you want more and found this episode amazing, please give us a rating. And with a simple click to subscribe, we'll invite you back to our next episode. So remember, be brave, be bold, be blessed. And above all, listen, learn, love.